Books make you hope. Books make you dream. Books make you laugh. Books make you scream. This is the Books That Make You show, discussing books with authors and experts, unraveling the inner pages of all the books that help make us who we are. Hosted by Desiree Duffy.
Hello, welcome one and all to Books That Make You. I'm your host, Desiree Duffy, and we are talking about books that make you travel back in time to the gold fields of the Alaska wilderness. Oh yeah, we've got a good topic today. We're going on an adventure, so to speak. Now imagine for a second, traveling to Alaska in the summer of 1898 and facing these greedy and ruthless adversaries as a teenage boy. Well, that's what's happening in this new book. It's called Hope City, and it's by Neil Perry Gordon. And he weaves this amazing historical fiction yarn. Now, the author has written several other books. Some of his other books include A Cobbler's Tale and Moonflower, The Righteous One and The Bomb Squad. Gordon has also established himself as a well-respected and prolific historical fiction novelist. So we'll talk about that too. His creative writing methods and inspiration have been described as very organic, meaning that he begins his work with a general storyline for his characters rather than working with a formal, detailed outline. I guess he's a little bit more of a pantser than a plotter. This encourages his writing to offer many surprising twists and turns. And we're going to dig into that right now. Neil Perry Gordon, hello, welcome to the show.
Oh, hello to you. What a nice introduction. Thank you so much, Desiree.
Well, I'm excited because you have this amazing book that just came out. Plus you have other books. And I'm always interested in how writers write. The craft of writing is just amazing, not only to me, but I think to anybody who reads. And we can see this when we're reading. We see how different stories can unfold in different ways. So I do want to get into your specific style. But first, can you help us just set the stage with Hope City? Tell us what's going on. Tell us a little bit more about the premise.
Well, to give you an idea, Hope is a place in Alaska. It still exists. Actually, today is July 9th, and I'm supposed to be on a plane right now heading to Hope as we speak.
Okay.
Literally, right now, if there was no COVID, I would be flying right now to Hope with my book about Hope, bringing it there and bringing it on to the community. But alas, I am not. I'm here. So I've gone up there for the past 12 years, every summer. And I've actually been up there one winter. I have a very good friend up there who lives up in Anchorage and has this cabin in Hope. Hope was a mining town. It survived next to a town called Sunrise, which was much bigger at the time in 1898, but that is no longer there. So I've gone up every year, and I never thought about writing a book about Hope. But last year when I was up there, there's this new restaurant that opened up called the Dirty Skillet. And so we went in there checking it out. So some fun people owned the place, and we were just chatting, and I was telling them about my books, and they were telling me about how they named their restaurant the Dirty Skillet. And there was this story about this young man named Percy Hope, who arrived in Alaska, and because he stepped off the boat at a certain time, they said the next person that steps off this boat, we're going to name our town after him, and it happened to be Percy Hope. So the name of the town became Hope City. So I took that little seed, the little germ of an idea, and I created a whole novel around it. So I just basically took a situation, and then I developed this whole story. I didn't know where I was going to go with it. I just started with that premise. I changed a lot of some of the seed of the idea. I made Percy Hope is really an alias. His real name is Samuel Rothman. So he's living this lie, thinking he's Percy Hope. He gets there, all of a sudden, they name the city after him. And he's also a Jewish boy, but he goes up pretending he's not, pretending he's Catholic. His father's worried if a Jewish boy should go into the Alaskan wilderness, not knowing, how it would be treated. So they make up this fictitious name. So now he's living this fictitious lie under Percy Hope. He's also making believe he's a Catholic. So that's how he gets involved. And it's sort of a trip down the rabbit hole. And it takes place in 1898. And so, I studied a little bit about the Klondike a couple of years before that, where the major gold rush was. And and got a feel of what it was like back then. And then, I let my imagination take me away.
So tell me a little bit about how you do your research then. I mean, if you're studying the Klondike, how, are you reading books? It sounds like you're going there in person. Are you talking to people? What's your methodology?
Well, Hope, I've been there so many times. So that was really a wonderful way of being on site and knowing the topology. So if when Percy and Ellie were taking a walk out into the wilderness, I did those same walks. So there I knew, but besides that, I just used the Google machine and, I find all sorts of things up about it. I was thinking I've been asked this question before, how do I do my research? And if I was a writer 20 years ago and I had to go to the library to do all my research and I had to use a typewriter, book one wouldn't be done by now. That's for sure. So thank God I have all these tools that are very handy today to do things like that. So yeah, I'll do a lot of my research on the internet. And I find everything I need pretty much right at my fingertips.
And you raise a good point too, because I get it. I write, and I love the fact that I can use stuff like Word and just move stuff around and change it.
Exactly.
So with your methodology, that's a little bit more organic. Do you feel the internet helps you, or computers in general help you with that as well?
With my story process?
Yeah. In other words, if this was 50, 75 years ago and you didn't have a computer, would you be pantsing as much as you do now?
Oh, gosh, probably. I mean, that's just my personality. I don't think I could. I can't plan that. I have a business besides this as well, and I've been running my business for 35 years. I never do budgets. I never do planning. I never do any of that stuff. I really go. I'm a pantser, seat of the pants type thing. I just do everything as I move along, and I just follow my path where it takes me. That's just my personality.
And so tell me, I love the fact that you just embrace this quality. I know a lot of authors, they feel like the story just naturally unfolds for them. Is that kind of what you have too, where you don't need to see the end? You already have a sense of it as you're on the journey.
I love that. I love when that happens. I love that process. I've been thinking a lot about my writing lately because I self-published 5 novels. Now I have another manuscript done and I want to try to get it traditionally published. So I'm doing something. I want to try something new because the first 5 books, I had to get my ego out of the way. So I wanted to get my books done and wanted to get it out there. I didn't want to get rejected by agents and publishers. But, so I have my 5 books out. I've gotten tremendous reviews on all of them. And now I feel I want to go a different path. So, that's how I'm looking at that. And, it's my nature to try things this way.
So tell me about, I was reading in your bio that you've learned subjects like music and dance, theater, writing literature, legends and myths. And the way you learned was that these weren't simply things to read about, but lessons to be experienced. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, are you familiar with Waldorf School?
Yes, actually, and that's in your bio too. That's where you went.
Yeah, so it's the Waldorf method of teaching. That's the experiential part of things. And that really, I think, was very important in how I developed as a thinker. So I like to do things and experience and learn as my learning and my knowledge is through experience. I've always been able to say, let's just do it rather than try to think about it and fret over it. So any new idea in business, I always just jump in feet first. My son likes to tease me because 20 years ago, I was like into home staging. So I said, I think that's a great business. Part of my business was an extension of my business. So I said, all right, we do home staging now. I really didn't know anything about it. I think we'll figure it out. So that's really how I do things. I mean, for good or bad, but I love the process of just having that organic writing and letting it see where it leads me. And like you said, it just comes to you as you're writing it. So I'll never know where these novels take me. Hope City, I didn't have any idea how I would end up where it was going to go. The first book I worried about it because how do you finish? How do you do this? It was really a learning process. But when 80,000 words come around, you're about done with the story. It tells itself out. So yeah, some stories, and that's why 80,000 words seems like a good amount of words for a novel. It just works well to tell the complete story.
Yep, that's the average amount right there. You nailed it. And the thing too is we're wired for story. As human beings, we've been telling ourselves stories for as far back as we go. I think it's part of what makes us human, right? Is we used to sit around campfires or the fire outside the cave, right? And tell stories about the hunt, tell stories about our history, tell stories about religion or whatever. So there's always that methodology. And I think it's just ingrained in our being.
I love the process of telling a story. I've always loved someone who could sit around a campfire and tell a tale just off the cuff. To me, that's like one of the greatest skills, and something I really would love to learn. Writing a story and telling a story, obviously two different things. The writing process is different than just the telling process, but I love both. I love being able to do that. And I love the fact that I could write something and then people can read it and then we could talk about it. It's like, if I want to someone said, you want to do a podcast? Like, yeah. I mean, where else am I going to get a chance to talk about me for 30 minutes, just about me and my books? It's my all-time favorite topic.
Do you do any other kind of online events where you're talking to your readers? Or, I mean, I know before we had COVID, a lot of times authors will go to their local libraries and talk. Is that something that you like to do?
I'd love to talk to anyone who's read my books. So, in the community that I live in, people have read my books and come over and talk to me about it. And that's like, the highlight of my day. There's nothing more exciting than that. I just find that so enjoyable for that to happen. So, so that I agree. But that's why I was looking to go to Hope and really, peacock around with my new book. What better place to go to have a book about Hope City, to tell the tale for all these people who I've been going to see for the past dozen years, and then have that moment of just really enjoying it. So, but my friend Tom, who's up there, he's taking over for me. He's soaking it in. And in fact, the cover of the book was painted by a woman who lives in Hope. Her name is Erica Miller. And she used Tom, my friend's son, as the image for Percy. So this is my friend's son, his image that was used in the painting, and so it's original artwork done for the book. So that too is also fun and exciting to have all that as well, part of the story.
That's really cool, and it's true. Really, writing is not so much of an individual process as some people might think. There's a lot of people who are supporting, and whether it's art or people that are there on the ground for you in Hope, helping you out. That's amazing.
Well, Tom did that. Tom helped me. I mean, he was my consultant. So, he read some of my first drafts of the book, and he was saying, you got to talk more about the tides, because the tides in the water is very strong and very important, because you can't move around that area if you don't take into account the tides. So things like that were important. Things like he would tell me about the type of whales that would have been there back in 1898, who are not there, and they're not there any longer because they've been extinct. So interesting things like that I would never have known without having a native. Tom was born there of the area.
Yeah. And that's so important when writing historical fiction too, because people who read historical fiction, they want those little nuggets of authenticity. And I don't know if you've ever had it, but I've interviewed and I've talked to enough historical fiction writers where, oh my God, if you make a mistake, there's something out there who's going to let you know about it.
Oh yeah. Any mistake. And some of them are wrong, but I never engaged with that way. But I say, excuse me, I know I'm right about this. I'll double check it. I'm right. But some people just are adamant that they're right. But that's the way it is. When I find I get criticism or whatever it is that could be looked at as negative, I take that as a positive, because I'm evoking something from them, and that's really what you want. You want some emotional attachment to the book. So if I'm getting someone angry at something I wrote, I think that's good. So at first I was like, oh, really? Damn, that got something wrong. But now I'm like, I'm happy with it. I evoked something out of them.
That's a great attitude to have. Yeah. As an author, having that attitude, having a thick skin is probably a good idea because there's always people out there saying whatever. So you just got to roll with it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about some of your other books. Okay. So we've got A Cobbler's Tale, Moonflower, The Righteous One, The Bomb Squad. Is that the order that they came out?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Did it good. Very good.
All right. Let's start with A Cobbler's Tale then, your first book. Give us a little bit of that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Cobbler's Tale is based on my great-grandparents' story. It's a Jewish immigration story. My great-grandparents lived in a small shtetl, which is a Jewish village in southern Poland. It was in southern Poland at the time. This is 1910. The area is called Galicia. It was part of the Austrian-Hungarian Empire. So my great-grandfather wanted to emigrate to America. So he first came to the Lower East Side. He left behind his pregnant wife and 3 children, one of which was my grandfather, back in Galicia, in this little shtetl. So he came here, and he was a cobbler. And so he was very successful when he got here. He was a second-generation cobbler. His father also was a cobbler back in the little town of Kruszka. And back when he was back in Poland, he was very disrespected because back then in Poland, if you were a Torah scholar, you were the respected ones. You were the ones that all the mothers wanted their daughters to marry because those are the ones the most respected, and the town supported them to study the Torah. The merchants, the cobblers, the carpenters, the tailors, the butchers, they weren't as respected. So Pincus, which was his name, always felt disrespected. But when he got to America, all of a sudden he was the man because he had something to do. It was 500,000 Jews here. That's how many millions of shoes are there. So all of a sudden he's the man, and all the Torah scholars who came here had nothing to do. So they had no jobs, they had no occupation, and no skills except to study the Torah. So all of a sudden the tables have turned, and Pincus is now the big guy. So he gets himself in a little trouble while he's here, and he forgets about his family, and World War I breaks out, and they're stuck there. So now they're stuck. So I have 2 stories going on. I have the Pincus story in the Lower East Side going on, and I have Clara, his wife, my great-grandmother, who gives birth, and her 4 children now are stuck in a war zone during World War I. So that's the premise of the story.
Wow, that's amazing. And this is all based on your actual family history.
Yes, but I did make my great-grandfather much more brave because he really wasn't that brave, and more heroic and everything else. So I added a lot of drama to the story, and because I really didn't know him, but I knew enough about him from hearing stories. So that's how I created it, and that was my first novel. And actually, it did really well. I was really surprised how well it did for my first time out the gate.
That's excellent. Well, you do. It seems like you're getting a lot of great reviews. Midwest Book Review, Kirkus. There's lots of reviews on Goodreads and Amazon and elsewhere. So yeah, with all of these books, so we probably can't hit each and every one during what's left in the show, but pick another one. Pick the next book that you want to tell me about, and why do you want to tell me about it?
Well, I could pick The Bomb Squad. That's the most recent one I just released before before Hope City. Mm-hmm. And that's also historic fiction. Also takes place in World War I. It's called The Bomb Squad, Clash of the Patriots. So I have 2 men, 2 German Americans in New York City. One is a American patriot and one is a German spy. And they have this clash between them. So the German spy, he's actually a doctor, Dr. Harold Schwartz, and he's a doctor at Ellis Island Immigrant Hospital, which is the most prestigious hospital at the time, taking all those immigrants coming in. If you ever get a chance to visit Ellis Island, there's the main building, but across, not far away from it, was the old hospital, which is basically in ruins. It was never refurbished. So, but back in the day, in 1910, 1916, that was an amazing place because all those people who were sick came in through steerage, and that they were ill, they got treated there. So he's the administrator of this amazing hospital, and he's a German spy. And I also have I have Max, Detective Max Rothman, who is a German American, but he's loyal, and he's part of the New York City Police Department, a detective, and he gets recruited to start the bomb squad by the British Secret Service. They called it SIS back then. And so it's this battle between these two men. One, they're trying to, the German spies are trying to blow things up to keep America distracted and out of the war, while the bomb squad is trying to stop them. So that's called the Bomb Squad Clash of the Patriots.
That's excellent. So tell me, what are some of the common? I'm picking up a few commonalities in some of your writing. It seems like you have a lot of stories that have two men in it. What kind of themes? We have war a couple of times. What kind of themes do you generally like to unravel?
I like a lot of conflict, obviously. I like the battle between good and evil. That's really always the thrust of it. I like to have some romance in my stories. There's always some romantic thing going on. But now I'm trying to move a little bit away from what I was comfortable with. Right now, my manuscript that I'm trying to sell to an agent is a historical romance, which I'm trying my first real venture into romance. For a man, I think that that was a little bit of a challenge. So it's an interesting concept, and it was a lot more challenging to write about romance, and it wasn't always, and also a lot of violent sex in this as well. It's called Sadie's Sin. It's about the Zvi Migdal, which was a Jewish mafioso group, basically an organized crime group in Buenos Aires, Argentina, that recruited young girls from shtetls in the 1920s as sex slaves and brought them to brothels in Buenos Aires. So that's the basis of that story. So it was challenging to write it, and I had to go to places I never really thought I could go. So I finished it. We're just finishing up the edits now, and then it'll be ready to send out to some agents.
Oh, that's exciting. Well,
yeah.
Fingers crossed for you. Good luck with that. That'll be amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So in your writing, since we're playing with historical romance a little bit, and you had your family history in there, where do you derive your inspiration? What other writers do you look up to or use as mentors?
I love writers that really get into the human condition. I really like that, like Stephen King, for example, the way he writes. I'm not a horror fan, but I'm a fan of his. I don't really like the very, very dark side of human behavior, but I love the way he gets into the mind. That just fascinates me. Have you seen Mindhunter on Netflix?
Oh, no, I haven't. Tell me about it.
So Mindhunter is also, it's about the FBI when they first learned how to deal with serial killers.
Oh, I did. That's been out for a while, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I saw the first season of that. Yeah.
So I'm just like gobbling that up because I love how they can get into the psychosis of people's minds. And that to me is the most interesting thing to do as a writer, if I can learn how to do that. And that's really what I'm trying to do more and more, is really to get into that part of the head. Because basically, when I'm writing and you're reading, I'm in your head as it is. So, I'm in your head. I might as well try to, really see if I can stir things up in there.
That's kind of scary. And for a guy who doesn't like horror, that sounds really scary.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, and I think that just, it kind of taps into what it means to be a writer and a reader too. That's one of the reasons reading a book is like no other thing. You mentioned it before. It's not like sitting around telling a campfire story. It's not like a movie, because when you're reading, you really are immersing yourself in that point of view and that perspective of who you're reading about.
Yeah. Stephen King says it's being telepathic, right? So he describes about writing about a table with a red tablecloth and describing the vase on top of it and the whole thing. And he could write that in 1990, and you could read that in 2020. And he's telepathically sending that message to you through time. And when you read it, you could picture exactly what he's writing. So that's a telepathic message. To me, that's like, wow, that's amazing to think about it that way, because that's really what it is. It's this way of connecting with all these readers that which is a wonderful thing, because when you're a painter or a musician or you do any other type of art, the interaction between the patron of the art and the artist is quick, much quicker than reading a book. If you're going to sit down and read my book, if you're a quick reader, maybe you could do it in a week, but sometimes you could take weeks or months. And if you're going to engage with my words for that period of time, that's quite a commitment. And so after you make that engagement, and then if we can interact and we can have a conversation about it, that's, to me, that's the greatest thing. I mean, if someone reads a book and wants to talk to me about it, it's like, okay, that's such a wonderful, that's why I love my editor so much, because we have such a relationship that she knows me so well from a part of my life that I love to do. And so when we have our give and take and she's talking about the story, so, you need to develop this a little bit more, change this doesn't make sense, whatever it is. And then we talk at the very, very end when she's all done and we just summarize about the book and what she loves about it and such. I get so much enjoyment out of that because it's just, she knows it so well. And the readers who read it can also share that with me. So that's a wonderful experience.
Oh, I love that. So on that note, can you tell readers, your future readers, the people who are listening and watching right now, where they can go to connect with you online, your website, social media? Where can they find out more about you and your books?
NeilPerryGordon.com. You just go to my website and everything is there, and to connect, all the links are there, and I have a blog that's there. I'm on Facebook, as well, LinkedIn, Twitter, but all those links are on my website. So that's pretty much the easiest place to find me.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. One more time, I'm going to read through these books. Your latest is Hope City, and that's a historical fiction that's set in Alaska, in the wilds of Alaska, back in the late 1800s. Right. We also have A Cobbler's Tale, Moonflower, The Righteous One, and The Bomb Squad. They all sound like fantastic reads. Neil Perry Gordon, thank you so much for being here today.
Desiree Duffy, thank you.
All right. And everybody who's listening, thank you for joining us today on the Books That Make You show. And if you would like to find out more about us, you can find us on our website. That's booksthatmakeyou.com. We're also on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, where you can watch a lot of these shows and other stuff that we've put out too. We've done book launch parties. We've done entire book festivals. So check that out and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also sign up for our newsletter, because we're always giving away fantastic books and doing contests and giving you all the latest news and information about the books and authors that you love. Until next time, all of my bookish buddies, please enjoy all of the books that make you exactly who you are.
The executive producer for Books That Make You is Desiree Duffy. Produced and sound mastered by Phil Giangrande. Engineering by Dave Nabox. Social media and promotion by Bree Sweeter. For more, visit booksthatmakeyou.com.